when we go through the building project, as Joe mentioned today, they will verify the numbers. But I'll give you an example. Currently, our 5th grade is 868, and our kindergarten is 918. So we're in the 900s. A few years ago, we were in the 700s. So we have sustained growth over time. So, and you have more building going down. So some of the things Joe will talk about, and with his project, is that we're trying to search out and look for more space in some of the construction work that we're doing. I didn't want you, I don't know if you have any questions about the moment. Sometimes you'll get a call as a board member, why does this school have 2 sections in the school? It's just by the numbers, sheer numbers. You can't divide, sometimes there's not enough space and there's only 2 sections or larger. Sometimes you're able to put a 3rd section in there and therefore they're smaller. Every school is different, and they have their own insignias, they have everything different. We staff according to our goals, but we have classes that exceed our goals. We have classes in the elementary school that are 24 and 25 that we want at 22, some are 26, some are 18 when you redivide them. But across the district, we're pretty much growing, and there isn't a lot of space at all. As you walk around the building, you'll notice that. Even though we did the redistricting 2 years ago, even if we were to redistrict, we have nowhere to put it. So unless we start a night school, which I don't think we're going to do. So we do have a challenge coming up. So our numbers are pretty solid. So we shouldn't have any problem with the high school numbers. Correct?
High school
with
currently, no, there's no problem.
It should work out fine. You want to talk about E-rate?
As the board may remember, in the summertime, we applied for a E-rate grant for what is known as a network replacement. On the bottom of all your cell phone and your home phone bills, you'll see a line item that says Universal Service Fund. It's like $1 or $2 in everyone's bills. Well, the schools and libraries are allowed to submit for funding on that. So Danbury received a just shy of $1 million grant to replace our network over the next 2 years. So good thing. We have a 10% match, which means we have to put up $100,000 against $1 million. But in the grand scheme of that, it's really pennies in the dollar. So going forward to help with, obviously we're going to do actually another large lease in the next budget for our network. So really worked out really good, really pleased with getting that funding.
And then the budget?
Budget update. We're just actually in the process of getting our health insurance renewal. We should have that actually probably within the next week. We're beginning projections related to contracts and working with Cabinet on various ideas and current future planning. So early days there, we should have some, rough estimates on where some things are, particularly health insurance numbers going forward. So, just beginning. Good times.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, we are looking in the budget for support work. The intervention process that we have that comes out of your ECS money, we would like to expand in terms of helping students at the middle school and elementary. The high school has a tutorial session area where there's students are able to drop in and get support. We're not quite there at the middle school and elementary. So we're looking at different models for supporting the elementary schools, particularly in mathematics and reading. So when you look at the budget, that'll be part of it. I dare to say, even if we don't get the Alliance money, it doesn't increase, we're going to have to move some money out of Alliance into operation to support the teachers' work, particularly at the elementary school. It's a high priority for us this year. You've always said keep teachers in classrooms. We've done that. We don't have any more classrooms to put them. So we get no more classrooms. So, but there are kids that need help under our intervention model that the elementary has really been asking for a few years. So we're going to try. We will help them in the next budget cycle. We have transportation study update.
Transportation study, as the board knows, we hired Mark Walsh from Transportation Advisory Services. He'll be coming in next week, beginning his study work. Basically interviews district level staff, principals, our current transportation coordinator, Melanie Lucas, myself, also STA. He will do a complete study and breakdown of our bell schedules and our processes, review our policies, and make a recommendation back to us as far as different ways we could change, possibly curtail costs. As we know, we are in the currently 4th year of a 5-year contract with STA, so this also kind of begins to tee up that work, whether we, bid that out or what process will go there. So, actually, it's gonna be, we'll get next week, share a report back to the board, I think, back about the beginning of January.
Yeah, the board needs to prepare itself, because what we're talking about here, you remember that we had a parent a few weeks ago about a bus stop. You remember when we switched times at one school, that's what it's talking about. There's gonna be some hard decisions to make, I think we've been pretty efficient in the routes. We've been inefficient, in a good way, accommodating. We, rather than hassling parents, we'll put the kid in the bus if we can. We permit parents to change, and because where their sitters are and where they work, that costs you a lot of money to do. And the recommendation he's gonna come to you with, when you wanna put help for the elementary teachers, for example, and where you can save money, you could probably, every bus is $65,000. We could do a lot there. But, so when he comes to us, be prepared for that kind of conversation. And I'm not saying you have to take those things, but I think we would be negligent if we didn't look at them. About, starting times and the big ones at middle school, the middle school one.
Yeah, West Side is
West Side
becoming a challenge on, we're going to have to repurpose our bus runs, the targeted buses back in position to, a sense, pick up some of the other tiers.
Because they go all around the city,
So
right?
that's-
So you make them last, it does, so there's things like that, I just want you to be aware of. That's what it's gonna come back.
And your early and late elementary, high school start times, that's not gonna change, your current middle schools, but I mean, carry West Side and some of your start times in your early and late elementary will be
And
probably.
maybe move some areas. So, okay, we'll look forward to that one, right? Elementary technology, Lisa, good news here. We put it on last week, but we knew we were gonna have good news.
We've been working closely with the city and the city council on our technology lease. It was moved to a subcommittee at the October meeting. There is the subcommittee held actually next Wednesday night on the lease, which will move forward to the full council for adoption. We are moving forward with the purchasing, the lease implication, since the financing vehicle the council will approve. The laptops are coming in today, so good news on that front. 466 teacher laptops to start.
We, in order to, we thought we'd get them last month.
Okay.
We had to move the elementary grading period in order to make sure that the teachers have ample time to load up the computers, the grades, and it didn't force a real issue for them if we would have tried to stay on schedule. So I think we moved it a week, Bill, right? So that we're able to get everything formatted, get them to the teachers, and then they can get them home to parents. So we did move a week on that. That's all on my report. We do have discussion under, if I might. I put the goals in your packet, just so that rather than have one meeting where I sit down and bore you to death, I thought it'd be a little better as we go through the year, we can update you on what we're doing. The first goal that we're all focusing on, and Joe mentioned before, you put the assessment to the side, but we're all trying to focus and target on certain skills. And we're trying to align all of our goals with board goals. The teachers have been mindful to try to align with our goals and then the building goals and the administrators, so we have maximum leverage in moving forward in critical areas. You all been at our workshop with Jonathan Costa. This is what it's all about right here, playing out in the classroom. But your first goal that you challenged me with was to ensure that all students are challenged and given the maximum opportunities. Ensure that each and every child has the opportunity to learn and grow and be exposed to 21st century skill. What does that really mean? And it really doesn't fall on my shoulders. I can't really do it, but the teachers do that. And Bill, maybe you want to talk a little bit about how we're doing that and the alignment piece. And below there, it says STAR testing. That's what we implement. That's our progress monitoring for some of the work that we're doing. But,
This is all a working, not working.
no, don't do that. No, don't do that. It's got to stay in sequence.
No,
It doesn't?
no, there's no sequence.
Okay, here's your
That's the
first. Sound fixing for Bill. This is a first.
We were on.
Someone take a picture, please.
This is from a man who constantly loses his iPad and cell phone.
Joe, how long have I had this iPad?
Like almost 2 years.
First time in 9 years I've ever seen Sal get up and fix it for Bill. Nice job.
It's because I broke it before we started.
Oh, I see.
Is Joe still here? You may have that.
He is.
Oh,
Joe. These points are well taken. I think we've all been struggling with the balance between how much assessment versus how much teaching. And the same thing goes with the teacher evaluation program. So our overall model, we're really focusing on heavily is the concept of diagnose and prescribe. So the lightest amount of diagnostic work that you have to do to be able to get down to root cause, and then you come up with a prescription. So at the board's request and request of many others, including ourselves, we worked to slim the assessment calendar. And in some ways we did, in some ways we didn't. We didn't slim the actual number of assessments per se, but we significantly slimmed the amount of time that kids are being tested. Do we want to go farther along that path? Yes, we do. But we want to make sure we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So the STAR assessment that Sal mentioned is something called the norm reference test. It means it's been checked out nationally in terms of things called reliability and validity. So that's not just something we made up, and we're not really sure if the results we get back are actually valid. They are very valid, but we're at the baseline level right now, and we just gave the first round of assessment, grades 1 all the way up, and it tells us where we currently are, but it doesn't tell us much more than that. The board has heard both Sal and myself over years now talk about trend line data, and the idea of looking at where we were, are we moving forward, are we making steady progress? There has never been in the history of the United States a straight trend line like this. It goes up, it dips a little bit, it goes up, it dips a little bit. Again, you heard Joe talk about the idea of making sure we put resources up against our most challenged kids, and those typically show up in the subgroups. Our T-VAL plan is sensitive to the national subgroups recognized by the federal government, as well as any subgroup that we come up with that may not be nationally recognized, but we see that these kids aren't doing as well. So we've had our first round of this. We're working on a project that comes out of Harvard University. If you hear the term data-wise, all this means is we create a culture to do deep levels of diagnostic work. We base all of our decisions on evidence. So it's not just we think this, but rather here's the evidence that's underpinning it. And then all of this ties in, as Sal just said, to the 2 coherence goals on the part of the board. As you know, the district has been commended repeatedly outside of Danbury, up to and including the statewide leadership conference over the summer, because the fact that Danbury is trying to bring coherence to all the work that it does. So we picked, as a school system, the idea of 21st century problem solving, or making an argument based on evidence. You could do that in a kindergarten class. You know, what's the most popular flavor of ice cream, vanilla or chocolate? And a bunch of kids say, well, we think it's chocolate because we like it. And so they do a little survey, raise your hands, and they count the numbers, and lo and behold, they find out that out of the 20 kids, 15 like vanilla. And suddenly they say, now we know we've solved this question through an inquiry-based model. We've inquired, we've collected data, we now have evidence. Vanilla ice cream is more popular in our classroom. You take that and bring it all the way up to AP Calc. So it expands to fit the volume that we have. The same thing with making an argument based on evidence. It's 2 ends of the same continuum. So our argument is that vanilla ice cream is the best argument. I apologize for taking us down to kindergarten, but our argument is vanilla ice cream is the best. Show us the evidence. Show us that you've actually done the work on this. And we now know what kind of ice cream to get for our summer party or something. So we had to solve a problem. We went through this argumentation process. We brought forth the evidence, and we now can solve a problem of practice. At a very sophisticated level, this is what we're working on now as a school system. This will literally take years to create the culture that's talked about in here, where we can look at any school, any classroom, any grade level, and feel the presence of this. But in order to do that, the final piece is really providing teachers with real-time data that's not too invasive. You can take a 20-minute test as opposed to a 2- or 3-day assessment, and it really saves instructional time. We know that was a big, big priority on the part of the board. You saw the work that the district did in terms of changing our whole professional development model, our grade level meeting model, and still not trying to get rid of the SRBI approach. We need time to bring people together. So with all this said, it's very difficult, closing point, it's very difficult to talk about any one initiative. These are no longer separate standalone pieces, but rather we use the image of a necklace where each initiative is a pearl that's strung together on the necklace. So when we put them all together, the diagnostic, prescriptive model, and instructional enhancement based around the concept of continuous improvement.
So we're trying to collect data around that. As we go through, you'll hear more about that. Your other goal, if you look at that, was to ensure that our curriculum is uniform across grade levels. You know, we are working at the middle school with the exploration, and you'll see in the budget and exploration budget in next year's staffing. Right now, we started last spring, working this fall. Dr. LeBlanc has been helping us, and Christy as well, the API at the middle school, in creating exploration units of study to move over. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to mean some tweaking of schedule, but we're moving down that road. The thing that we're challenged on, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I'll wait until you're done.
Okay, the thing that we're challenged, the world language part, you know, and we're actually looking at some options for world language at the elementary school for us. There are some things that Gusto is looking at that some districts have adopted, and we're going to see if in fact we can infuse some of that in there. For the middle schools, that project-based learning, you know, we do the 8-drop over at Westside. We're looking at some common ones across the district, so that there is integration of the work that's going on at Westside, so it migrates over to the other 2 places as well. So that's sort of what we're doing in that goal arena that the board. Budget-wise, we'll see what the world language one when we start looking at the budget. But I think there's some opportunities there. Rob Cody talked about something I think is, we want to really work at extending the school day. Our kids have the ability, they need time. You know, remember me saying, you know, time should be the variable, learning should be the constant, instead of the other way around. And if we can extend time, maybe there's some world language opportunities after school as well as during school, along with some tutoring. So we're looking at different schemas that to bring that to the board to see. So I thank you for those, for that goal. Parenting community, Ann, would you speak to the way the question?
Okay, let me just, it's only a little question
Go.
about that first goal. Bill, that STAR test, is it computerized or is it paper? Is it computerized test, and how long does it take to take that test? About 20 minutes. And it goes from grade 1 to all the way up to 12.
Now, 1, 2, and 3 were required, how much is our line?
7.7 million.
7.7 million in the reading requires assessment. And they prescribed the assessment, and we weren't particularly pleased with what they were prescribing to us.
Bye, guys, thank
So
you.
now, good night. We looked at last year all of our assessments, and we needed some progress monitoring. The STAR was one that offered, it's a smart test because it's on the computer. It's at the level of the students, but it doesn't, and that's at the same standard. It adjusts to the students answering it. The first time, I'm told, takes 25 to 30 minutes to set it up. After that, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. But all kids are not taking it all the time. What we've done is made a decision tree. So the kids that are on target, you don't have to retake it until, you know, later on for dipsticking. The youngsters that are on a little more often, every 3 weeks, are kids that's in an IEP, kids that need more assistance. What it doesn't provide, that Bill talked about, is drilling down. It'll tell you, you know, what maybe is maybe a challenge the youngsters have, but we need to drill down on what those things are. That takes the time to teach it. That's what I was saying before. We need to give teachers support when they locate that, so we have assistance and resources to give them to work on those things. So that's how the STAR works.
Okay, and it's done, seems like it's being done a lot during the year.
It's done for progress monitoring for our reading at the elementary, specifically the turn to the state. It's also done for our Alliance grant in terms of showing progress. It's scheduled through the year, but youngsters who don't score as high, who need progress
Right.
monitoring, take it a little more often.
Okay.
All right, that's the difference. We don't have to put all the kids through it when they're meeting the goal. There isn't any point in it. So they're just moving on. That's what we're doing. Ian, community? That one's not working. Bill, I don't think that's the one tree.
Okay, okay, there we go. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, So Dr. Pasquarella had asked me to work on more of the goals around the community engagement. So we have some initiatives that we've rolled out this year. We're in the process of doing them right now, and to engage more families. The first thing that we've really been looking at as a group in the Learning Center is building trust with our families in Danbury. We realized right off that many families don't trust because we're a community entity, though more and more families are realizing that schools are a safe place. And so we are working very, very hard on exactly what aren't they trusting about schools and municipalities, and how we can strengthen that so that parents do trust schools. So that's one of the first ones. I'm just going to read through the different goals that we have going on right now. So goal 2A was effective parent-school partnerships. And so we are running a pilot program for any school that wanted to volunteer for it to come on board. And the first one is to do a walkthrough of how welcoming is your school. We have targeted 3 to 4 schools, and we have 4 schools that are going to go through that opportunity. It will be a group of community folks as well as some staff here in the district that's trained through CREC, which is the Capital Regional Education Council up in Hartford. We're going to be training 25 people here in Danbury. And so they'll do the walkthroughs through the school. They'll be responsible for the tallying of the information and getting it back to the school principals. And then the school principals will be given some strategies and things to perhaps change in their school, discuss with their staff, and implement. Our other piece of it is normally when parents get a call home, it's because their child has done something negative. And so we want to change that whole culture. And so we've asked 3 to 4 schools, and we have 3 who have committed to have 2 grades make calls to 50% of their parents once a month. That says, hi, Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, just wanted to tell you today that your child had a really great day, homework was completed, something that's positive. So our parents don't always look at us as a district that we only call home when there's something negative going on, but that positive. So once we start that positive communication, we know that it works in our school readiness programs, and the more that we can implement that in our other grades, it will be helpful, okay? We have piloted last year online workshops for parents, and we will be piloting that again. We're going to be using both in-class and pilot the Scholastic parent engagement for literacy for families, and so that will be rolled out through the Learning Center and through Park Avenue. We're very excited about that. It gives parents the opportunity to sign on at a given time around 8 o'clock at night after their children have gone to bed. And when we piloted it last year, we saw lots of dads do it because they could be home from work at that point and took part in it. We did things such as mindset change. We talked a lot about discipline, a lot about attendance and things like that. Some of the ideas come from the actual parents of what they'd like to learn, and then other times we use a curriculum that we have already. We, in school readiness, totally changed our format for our open house, and that is something that Karen Mapp from Harvard University has worked diligently over the years to flip how we do our open houses. And so in school readiness this year we worked with our parent educator to enroll 37 new families out of our 56 slots, and she did all of that mundane paperwork up front with them, went over the policies and procedures, went over the classroom expectations, and the parents had the opportunity to meet with the teachers at that point. So our open house night was things that parents had brought to our attention, getting their children to eat good meals, developing an evening routine with their children, and getting them to bed and enough sleep on time. And so our open house that night dealt with those different 3 issues, and parents really felt that it helped them out to be able to then foster that growth that they want with their children, get themselves on time to work in the morning, and hopefully we now have that dialogue with parents more and more versus the way that we did before. We will be offering Les Serras. We're supporting the Parent Leadership Training Institute as well for some other parent trainings that we are doing. We have part of my role is to work with the Danbury Promise for Children Partnership that's going through a very heavy-duty strategic plan right now. Under some new leadership, still working in very close in partnership with the United Way and all of our community partners, and we are re-energizing the Latino parent group as well as our community messengers, and that is 10 Spanish-speaking men and women and 10 English-speaking men and women that are kind of the pulse, are those new cultural brokers that get out into the community and share the good word, share what we're doing as a school district, sharing what we're doing for parent trainings, kindergarten registration, different things that parents need to know, and we're finding that that really is working well with the parents. We have made some inroads with PR out there. I am now writing a column each time in the Tribuna, and then it is published in 3 different languages. And 6 or 4 weeks ago was our first one. We did receive 2 responses from parents that had questions, so in this month's column, I've introduced that back to them, or given them their answers. So that's where we are with parent engagement. The Family Learning Center is working with over 400 families right now, and our family resource centers at our well-established one at Moore Street is doing well, and we have our new one now at South Street, and we're in the middle of getting that one up and running. Playgroup on Monday morning had 8 families, so we're very proud of that. So thank you for all your support in family engagement too, and in spreading that word and how important parents are. Yeah.
How many families were involved in the play group that I attended on Friday?
I think we had 18 families.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, Eileen was there and able to stop in and actually see a playgroup, and they're open all the time, so please feel free to come by, visit a playgroup, see what it's like. Our families are wonderful. Yeah.
And your article was great, I read it.
Thank you, thank you.
And one thing that we're trying to do is Sterling, stand up in the back.
Oh, yes.
You want to tell folks what we're trying to achieve?
So we're trying to communicate more with the community that doesn't speak English, specifically Spanish, and so we're trying to get more information. So we're testing today a very rough Spanish translation so that we can put that online so that the Spanish community can watch the Board of Ed meeting and have an idea of what's going on, and know how they can participate as well. And so that's why you keep hearing me talk back here.
You thought you were talking to yourself.
Well, that too.
That's wonderful, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ann.
Fiscal responsibility, Joe?
Open the door, ask the young man to open the door.
I can get it, I have the book.
As Dr. said, our fiscal responsibilities continue on all our efforts related to working with the city council and the mayor's office as far as related to our budget development process. We're beginning a little earlier in the budget with the finance committee this year. Obviously still looking at the 3-year process and 3-year budget model with the finance committee as well. Obviously our state funding, continue to work with our outside groups and our lobby, we're talking about possibly hiring a lobbyist for additional state funding as well. Those are, in the broad sense on where we are on some of the goals.
You can't do it yourself, Joe?
No. The last thing we have there in front of you, the Delta program, the ASPA program, so I put that in there. So that kind of covers the goals that living and really working in the schools. So, okay, that's the construction grant. Do you want to speak to?
We had a conversation on facilities of the $1.7 million small, it's called a small construction grant. The board is able to apply for $1.7 million in funding for minor improvements in our facilities, so lockers, bathroom upgrades and replacements, any playground work we'd like to do, sidewalks, it was in minor projects. We're currently evaluating some pieces right now. One are some bathroom upgrades in some of the schools, lockers at our middle schools. Our playgrounds, we still have a few with some issues we need to deal with. For example, a generator at this building might be eligible for submissions. So there are quite a few projects we're starting to kind of weed through, working with the city pretty closely as far as getting things that are on their hit list that they haven't funded for years. Hopefully get some of those things done. So it'll be more to come as we get later in the probably early January item.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. All right, where are we now? That's it, you done? Okay, school funding, the school funding,
No, I simply put that in there, that was the Katie Roy, that, the work that she had done, and there's material in here talking about the disparity in funding. And I think as folks talk to us about being 169th in terms of support, in fact, but if you look at it, you can see how much our local taxpayers are putting into it in order to make up the difference that we're not getting from the state. And so hopefully we get some relief from the state in terms of our taxpayers. But I thought you might, she sent it out last week, I thought you might appreciate having it. We also sent it to our legislators to advocate for us. I also asked for our legislators, actually it was Jim Long who made the suggestion, he knows politics very well, that it would be great if we can get some of our leadership into some of the committees as they form them. So they're formed already, but we form the new ones to advocate for having them on the education committee, the funding committee, the finance committee, that would help Amber quite a bit. So that's it for me. Thank you.
all right, that's it. Thank you, and all I'm going to talk about is our annual meeting, is December 2nd. But we have another board meeting after this, which is what's the date of it? Somebody, I don't have the date in front of me. It's, never mind, I do have it if I just read my thing. 24th? No. It is the 24th?
Yep, 7 PM.
7 PM, that's a Tuesday again. All right, okay, how about, it's another Tuesday, because it's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. All righty? Instead of the Wednesday. What is it, Phyllis?
It's my last one.
That's your last, I'm sorry, yes. But y'all are gonna come to the annual dinner, for the dinner part,
All right.
all right? Make sure you come for the dinner part, everybody, okay? On the second, if everybody just spruce up a little bit, because the first thing we do at 5:45, no, I'm sorry, 5:30 is our pictures taken for the yearbook. And then we go into our business meeting at 5:45. And when after it adjourns, we go downstairs to the cafe, is that what's called, the cafe? The cafe, and eat. All right, got it, Lexi? I'm sure that you're there, okay?
I'm sorry, when is that?
That is on the 2nd, it's our annual meeting.
December?
Yes. Okay. I'll explain more about it in 2 weeks when I see you for Thanksgiving. What else? That's it.
Just the Sites and Facilities Committee, and I'm going to,
For the people that don't have it,
Don't have
Michael,
that
David,
was held earlier this evening.
and yours, and yours.
Actually,
Ladies,
Joe
thanks for
is going
coming.
out. Yeah. Good
Thanks
night.
for coming. Good night.
Joe is going out and getting more.
No, we don't need more.
Okay, over here.
Over here we do, and Rosalie. Okay. Go.
And of course, we already touched on many of the,
Speak into the microphone, Kathleen.
yes, I just said, we just spoke tonight on many of the ideas that were brought up. So I just wanted to say thank you publicly to Rich Jolbert
Right.
for the tremendous job that he does for this district, day in and day out. He's our Sites and Facilities Manager, and he just does a terrific job, and I wanted to thank him publicly. That's it.
And Joe Martino does an all right job too.
Joe will thank at a later date.
We thank Joe every day.
I'm sorry?
We thank Joe every day.
Every day.
Every day.
We thank God for him every day, right?
I do.
Okay.
All righty. I want to also call to everybody, there's a finance committee meeting on November 16th at 6:30 here.
Oh,
Oh, that's Gladys's birthday, if anybody's inclined to remember that, there you go. I just wrote it down, okay. Then we have community relations. Rich asked me to remind everybody that community relations is meeting on the Tuesday, November 24th, prior to the board meeting. He's been doing a fabulous job on this committee, and we all need to attend to find out what our assignments are. along those lines, I want to thank everybody from the high school. I want to thank them again publicly for coming. We're having representation. That's from all of our schools. So we get to know what's going on everywhere, not just in the big schools. All righty? They have the agendas all lined up. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss before we close the meeting? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank God, there you go. We're out of here. Thank you.
There's a button in the back here, you can turn it off. Just keep your finger counting about 4 or 5, and that red light should go off. It's that button right here, power.
The one that says
Yeah,
power.
just press it for a few seconds. Red light should go off. The one that says power.
It does, after you hold it, it does go up.
Yeah.
You are off air. There's a gentleman next to you. Lexi? Where do I take that for our? Did you all get one? Yeah.
It's an invitation to the induction for.
Hey, Kim.
Hi, John.
I talked to Misty today. She said we were rating on with fingerprints with this guy. Do you know if we got
What guy? I don't know
our
what
science guy?
give me a name. 2,400 people.
Richard, he's the long-term sub guy.
Okay.
Richard,
I honestly
Erica,
don't know.
you
Melissa would be the one who would know better than I.
The lady that's planning for Menashe while she's out.
Yep.
Her ex-husband just died, so now she's going to be out for a few days. So I'm like,